What is the most powerful trait we have? You need power, speed. Let your imagination do the rest.
Undisputed, the Mexican Monster Pack out now.
Boxing King Media. We've got Russ Anber here. Russ, it's been a couple of days. I spoke to you straight after the fight, and it's been a few days to digest the performance. Have you reflected on the win? Have you spoke to Alexander? What was the team talk like after the event?
Look, all of us in the dressing room were very happy. I got to say goodbye to him. You talked to Sergey, Egis, the whole team, Yuri. We were all very happy with what happened. Everything transpired well in the fight. But no, I didn't get into any in-depth talk, and no, I have not spoken to Usyk. I'm sure the list of people that he must have, that he has to speak to right now, like it could literally take him weeks to get through all the messages he must be receiving. So I'll bide my time.
Looking at the performance, I wanted to ask you, the part of the tactics, were there tactics for him to come out aggressive early?
Well, I think the way it looked, like when we spoke in the dressing room, we, of course, the first thing I said to him, I said, "Did you bring your metal groin guard, your steel groin guard?" That's the first thing I said. He laughed. I said, they're going to try to kill you to the body. They're going to come out strong. They're not going to box. They're going to come out. He said, yeah, he knew, which of course he knew. I think the technical mistakes, and I don't mean tactical. I don't mean the battle plan behind Dubois doing what he did, but the technical mistakes that he made, where he was just falling into range by missing punches, and it just gave an opportunity. Like Usyk looked at this like it was served up on a platter for him. They were right there to be hit back hard. And I think that's what he did. And I think when he saw that he could land those kind of shots, I think that's why he started, unloading a little bit. And look, like we talked about earlier, I'm sure there was a little bit something, probably everything would have been fine had his faith not been mentioned, had he not been, criticized about his faith and questioned about his faith by Team Dubois and Don Charles specifically. I think that probably, pushed the horses, if you will.
Indeed, I think everyone in the UK now knows the saying, push the horses. I don't know if you've seen in the last 24 hours, a big news stories kind of broke in the UK, mainly about, I think I touched on it after the fight with you, and I said to you about if you was aware of Team Dubois arriving quite late at the venue, which was about 8:15. And I don't think he was fully aware, but it's come to light since. I don't know if you've seen the video of a gathering that was taking place at Daniel's house. And apparently, I didn't know this, but this also happened before the AJ fight. So they basically replicated the same the same gathering, but apparently this time there was more people there. I don't know if you've seen the videos. What do you kind of make an idea of a gathering to G a fighter up before a fight?
Well, first of all, are you using video in the plural or in the singular? Because I only saw one video that seems to be the same video circulate, obviously leaked from somewhere in there. Of a brief clip of the gathering. Sometimes we have to be careful of what we're seeing and what we're assuming. I think we have to be careful. I don't know what the truth is behind it. There are lots of fighters who like to meet up with their team, or a group of friends before going to the event, and everybody cheers him on, and off he goes to the event. To say it was a party, I could have used one of those, brother. I could have used a coffee. To saying it was a party might be a little bit of an overstatement. I mean, a party would mean that, people are drinking, having a good time, music is playing, and you're not focused on what you're doing. It might have lasted where these people came by just to wish him good luck and cheer him on, and they had an all big cheer before he got in the car and left, and it might have lasted only 15 minutes. I don't know. So I think we should be careful before addressing that and thinking that was the demise, that was it. Like, I mean, they could have only been there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. They said their good lucks, and he was getting in his car and leaving, just the same way it would be when you're in foreign territory and a guy like Usyk or somebody would come down from his hotel to go to the lobby to get into the vehicle. All the fans would be there. They cheer him. He'd sign some autograph. Thank you. They give him the encouragement before he goes to the fight. It might have just been that for all we know. So until I get more information from a more reliable source that this was a party and they did this and it was the reason why he got to the fight late. Until then, I'm just going to reserve judgment on that, as it might be nothing.
Don Charles has done some interviews today and he's confirmed that there was a gathering. He's confirmed that there was a gathering and there was more people there than the one they did before the AJ fight. And obviously the video that we've seen is from a Nigerian rapper who put it on his Instagram. So obviously we don't know how long this was for. There's a suggestion that music was being played there, but obviously Don has referred to it as a gathering rather than a party, which is what it's been labeled as by the guys at Talksport. So from your experience, have you ever come across a fighter doing anything like that, to kind of G him up, to have a gathering of people? And
I've never seen one organized, but there are certain fighters who like that. I'll tell you, one guy who loves having 1,000 people around is Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao just loved having everybody around. He gathered, and eventually Freddie Roach just said, I can't fight this. This is what the guy wants. This is what he feels good about. And you had everybody was there. Everyone just followed him around everywhere he went. And he didn't mind. He loved it. He didn't care. I think everybody handles things differently, But the only thing I will say, Manny was never been late for a fight. Manny never showed up late for a fight. If this was the reason for him not showing up on time in the venue, which of course is now causing a great amount of stress, because I know just myself going there, like I was in Adam Hamed's room, and I taped him up before his fight and spent time with the Prince. And, we were there before he went out to fight. And then I was just anxious almost for Adam to go out into the fight so that I could leave that dressing room and head to our dressing room, which was literally, a 20-meter walk. It was no big deal, right? But I wanted so much to be in the dressing room and be stress-free. Once you're in there, you're in there and you start preparing your things and whatnot. I know for a fact, any professional will tell you this. You arrive in that short a period of time to get into the dressing room, relax, get your things out, is a massive difference over rushing the hand wrap, rushing the warm-up, taking your stuff out of the bag, tying your laces fast. Everything is done quickly. And okay, we got to do this. There's no relaxation time. There's no downtime. There's no, focus time. What are we going to do? Go over the plan. For us, we were stood in the tunnel. And I think this is probably the reason why we were stood in the tunnel for 10 minutes. They came and got us in the dressing room. Come on out. And then we started and waited when they kept coming. Okay, he's coming. Okay, he's going to come out soon. Okay, it might have even been more than 10 minutes. I probably lost track of time that we were told to come out. We came out and then we were in the tunnel waiting to go to the ring walk. So I'm sure that that's an indication of just how, rushed he was. And that can't be good. That cannot be good that you're there, an hour and 10 minutes before the fight and expected to go out there and be calm, cool, and collected and focused on what you're doing. There's just no way.
well, and again, this hasn't been confirmed, but from what was reported, these people who came to the gathering, apparently they turned up at the venue. They didn't have tickets. And again, like I said, I'm going to reiterate this. This has come from Talksport that apparently the dad said, if these people can't come in, if you can't provide tickets, the fight's off. So you guys wouldn't have even been aware of all this. So apparently Dan was put back in the car and they drove round for another, however long it was.
Do you know if that's true, or do you know if any of that is true? I mean, it sounds insane, right? It
That's what's
sounds
been reported.
insane.
Yeah, that's what's been reported.
It's almost too incredibly stupid to be true. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna, someone's gonna have to confirm that better than that this was, first of all, what was said, that if these guys don't get in, we're not fighting. And it can't be. It can't be at the level of multi-million-dollar business venture that is a promotion of a boxing event, that this is possibly true. I can't even believe that.
With regards to, could you confirm what time Alexander had his hands wrapped?
Yeah, we started around 8 o'clock.
All right, okay. So he arrived at 8:16. So by 8:16, would you have been done?
I'd have been finished one hand. It takes me about 30 minutes to do a hand.
All right, okay. So
to do the two hands.
Yeah, because it's good. Yeah, it's worth clarifying that. So you had one hand on by the time they arrived. So, yeah. Do you think obviously you're part of a team, you're doing the hand wraps, etc. How much time would you say, like the elite fighter like Alexander Usyk, how much time does he require to rock up at the venue where everything's done at a set time and he's comfortable walking out?
He arrived almost, if I'm going to say 2.5, I don't think it was 3, but at least 2.5 hours before what would have been our scheduled walk time. And our walk time, we were told, was anywhere between 9:30 and 10 a.m. And we ended at 10 p.m. We ended up walking at, I think, just after 10, like 10 after 10, if I'm not mistaken.
It was
So we
probably
were
10, 15.
10:15, right? So imagine then it must have been 15 minutes we were in the tunnel because we left the dressing room at 10 p.m. So he was there at a solid 2.5 hours before. He put out his flags, he put out his religious artifacts, he set up his room the way he wanted it. I had my stuff already set up, my chair, everything that was done. So yeah, you of nobody, no, every major fighter gets to that venue at least minimum 2 hours before, if not more.
Okay. Yeah, but and obviously what's happened's happened, and let's see how things unfold further. I take it you're not going to be speaking to Team Usyk till they obviously contact you, or
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm off to New York now. I gotta go to this fight in New York. I'm sure they're celebrating and doing, the homecoming that they have to do. It's been a long time, a long camp for them and whatnot. So I'll speak to them probably when I get back from New York when things have calmed down a little bit. But I think we should be careful that, not to make more out of this party, if you will, whatever you want to call it, gathering party, not to make more out of this to take the light off of the performance that we saw in the ring from Alexander Usyk, the emotion that was on exhibit from him, the love from the British fans who just, love this guy. And I don't know if I told you this, but I'll say it now. I don't know that there has ever been another foreign fighter who has been so well received by the British fighting. And it's not easy to get accepted by the British fighting public. I've been on both sides. I've been with British fighters and I've been, in corners against British fighters. Believe me, it's not easy to be accepted by them. And the way this man has been accepted by them, I don't think there's any fighter in here, foreign fighter in history of boxing who has had more adulation and more fans and more love from the British people than Alexander Usyk. So let's not forget that for this, a stupid gathering of people who have no business being even in boxing. You didn't even buy a ticket. Okay, you're not even in boxing, so forget about it.
I agree with you what you said with regards to your statement about Alexander. I don't think anybody else has cracked the UK market as a foreign fighter like he has. But there's one thing I've got to highlight as well from what I picked up from Don Charles's interviews today. At no point has him or his team used this gathering situation as an excuse. If anything, they have confirmed it was part of their plan and it was something that they used before and they wanted to do it again. So it's worth highlighting that. So they're not saying it was an excuse. They're happy with the times that they got to the venue. They're happy that they had the ample time to warm up, wrap up. So no excuses have been made by them. And Don's been quite clear in saying that the right man won and the best man won, sorry. So, and he's described Usyk as a generational great. So I just want to put that out there.
Well, that's fine. Like, I mean, but again, I think the media goes and raises this issue and loses focus on what the reality is. Like, here we are talking about it instead of talking about, the greatness that is Alexander Usyk, where he ranks among the greats in boxing. I don't know if you saw this, but this was before the fight. I'll share this with you. I got it when I was there, and it was an article I did in Boxing News, and it talks about matching Usyk up against the greats. And if you read some of the things I've said, I think they're even more applicable now after the result of the Dubois fight than even when I wrote it. So we should be focusing on just how great of a fighter we're seeing and the accomplishments. And in fairness, I don't think that there has been a fighter with more achievements in the sport of boxing, or certainly in that going up to the heavyweight division, than Alexander Usyk. 2 Olympic game participations, gold medal at an Olympic game, European championship, et cetera, cruiserweight, undisputed, heavyweight, undisputed, beats everyone in the rematch. I don't know that anyone's done that. And you know what's crazy? 22 fights he did this in. You decimated 2 weight classes, in 22 fights. Like, that's crazy, bro. That's insane.
Well, if you add, I don't know how many fights did he have after winning the Olympic gold medal? Did he turn pro straight away, or did he do the World Super Series or something?
Uh, I don't. Oh, you mean the World Series of boxing?
Yeah, was that
Yeah,
after
I think he did some of that because didn't he fight Joe Joyce in that?
he did? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Because I was going to say if he turned pro straight after the Olympic gold, technically in 23 fights, he's completed boxing.
I know. It's crazy.
One thing I would love to do is when we meet up next time at an event, I'd like to do it in person so we've got better visuals and better audio, is to talk about Alexander versus some of the greats of the past. Because these are some of the conversations I've had with people in the last couple of days where people are saying he wouldn't have beaten Mike Tyson and all that kind of stuff. I think, but that's a conversation I'd love to have with you in person. So, and then, and finally, I was going to say before I forget, because I've got the note here, I want to remind fans about the book you've got coming out. I'm going to have the cover up on the screen right now so people can see what the book cover looks like. But the book's called Unrivaled. It's a Russ Anber, his life, I'm guessing, in boxing and out of boxing. And so there'll be some incredible stories. I've seen some passages he showed me the other day. It looks fascinating. And shout out to curtispress.com who are publishing the book for you as well. Just give the fans a bit of an indication, Russ. When can this book be out? Because I'm looking forward to it.
Well, first of all, the thing that I think I'm most proud about the book is the fact that it's a British publishing house that wanted to do that. So clearly, you guys in the UK are showing me a little bit of love with that, and I've been there, so often it feels like a second home. I think I've spent more time in boxing in the UK than I have in the US, and certainly more than in Canada. So yeah, it's great that they want to do this. I think just an opportunity for me to just tell a story of a dream that I had since I was a kid, and was able to live it out. And I like I said on my Instagram post after the fight, when I wasn't even 10 years old yet when I fell in love with boxing because of Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier in March of 1971, and that was my first contact with boxing. And listening to my father tell me stories about Joe Louis, and
Was that the fight Ali lost? It was, wasn't it? The first.
yeah, fight Ali lost.
Well, I've got. Did you go to that fight or did you watch it? Did you say?
I was 9 years old, bro. I didn't go anywhere.
I thought your dad. I thought your dad might have took you, but I've actually
No.
got some of the. I've got some boxing memorabilia, but one of the best things I've got a fight ticket from that show and the match program and loads of memorabilia that was sold on the day at that event.
Wow, that's great. I'd love to see that stuff because I like that stuff as well. But that was the first time my first real contact with boxing and how important it was. And all the kids in the neighborhood, we were talking about that, when we're playing outside and we're talking about Ali Frazier. And to think that years later, I stood on the same ring in the center at Madison Square Garden where Ali and Frazier fought. And to think that I stood, aside Alexander Usyk as the heavyweight champion of the world. I mean, I just can't tell you how this is like a dream come true for me that this was made possible through boxing. And I wanted to share those stories, the people that I met along the way, the people who influenced my life, the people who helped me do what I do and enjoy my life that I have in boxing, and talking to people like you and other trainers and fighters that I've worked with along the way. It gave me that opportunity. So basically, it's a compilation of my fighters, my fights, and my boxing life. So that's what the book is about, and I hope it's going to be good for somebody. I hope someone catches a spark with it and enjoys it and enjoyed as much as I have. My wife keeps asking me when I'm going to retire, and I told her I've been retired since the age of 18. I'm not working now. This isn't work for me. I'm loving every minute of this.
Yeah, it's a hobby that you're doing for work. So yeah, that is a pleasure to kind of create a job title like that. But Russ, when the book comes out, I'm going to ask you for a copy, which we can hopefully give away to one of our viewers when the book
100%.
comes. And but yeah, I really appreciate that. You'll obviously keep us updated when you get closer to the release date. And obviously Curtis Press will be publishing it, so keep an eye on there. And that's it really, Russ. Thank you very much for your time. I know you're off to New York, so have a safe drive. I'm guessing it's, what is it, 5 hours from you? 6 hours?
6, yeah.
6. All right. Enjoy the 6-hour drive.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it. And you'll be able to work out all this stuff with Neil from Curtis Press, and he'll take care of you for sure. No problem.
Thank you very much.
All right, my brother. Nice talking to you.
The most powerful trait we have. You need power, speed. Let your imagination do the rest.
Undisputed, the Mexican Monster Pack out now.